Ready to clear out some clutter? Donate your new and gently used items to the Habitat for Humanity Portland Region Restores. Help keep usable items out of our local landfill, plus it's tax deductible. You can donate everything from appliances to furniture, building materials, to lighting, paint, housewares, and more. And you can request a donation pickup online or drop off your donation at any of the Restore locations in Beaverton, Gresham, or Portland. Visit pdxrestore.org to learn more. That's pdxrestore.org. Plan a winter wellness getaway before the chaos of hosting and holiday travel begins. Salishan Coastal Lodge offers endless ways to nurture your mind, body, and spirit. Start your mornings with complimentary yoga, unwind at the spa, or cap off your day with food and drinks by the fire. And as a CityCast listener, you can treat yourself to 20% savings on your stay using the code CityCast. Plan your restorative stay at Salishan Coastal Lodge. Book now at salishan.com using code CityCast for 20% savings and start your journey to feeling refreshed and renewed. This episode might not be suitable for younger listeners. Though there is no explicit language, in this conversation there is mention of sex and human trafficking. In the past 5 years, the number of illegal massage parlors in Portland has tripled, from an estimated 36 to at least 114 different locations. According to state regulators and nonprofits, these parlors are illicit operations that traffic and abuse undocumented women. So why isn't the state or the city doing anything to stop them? Today on CityCast Portland, we're talking with Eliza Aronson, who investigated the issue at Willamette Week. She spoke to neighbors, local law enforcement, even the workers themselves, and she's sharing with us what she learned. It's Tuesday, December 10th. I'm Claudia Meza, and this is what Portland's talking about. Hey, before we jump into today's conversation, I wanted to let you know that if you become a CityCast Portland member today, you'll receive not just one, but 2 thank you gifts, an exclusive members-only CityCast Portland tote bag, and a free audiobook credit from our friends at Libro.fm. Just visit membership.citycast.fm to join. Your membership supports the work we do every day that hopefully makes living in Portland a little easier, a little brighter, leaves you feeling a lot more connected and informed. So if you love what we do, head to membership.citycast.fm today and we'll hook you up with a tote bag and a credit for a free audiobook. All that for just investing in the kind of local journalism that helps Portland thrive. Just be sure to provide your mailing address when you sign up to receive your tote bag. All right, on to our show. I actually haven't seen a lot of reporting on this issue that you covered. Why did you think to investigate it? Did you have a lead, or how did that come about?
Yeah, so I was an intern for Willamette Week, and I think one of the first few weeks I was there, our editor sent out all the interns to East Portland. As you all probably know, like, Portland totally restructured its city government, and so we wanted to get out to East Portland to talk to people about how they felt about that restructuring and what they wanted for the upcoming, city election and the future city council. During the heat wave, the July 4th heat wave, I was driving around in my car that does not have air conditioning, trying to find people to talk to. And so I really wanted to find a sex worker to get their perspective. And I ended up talking to a woman who manages a lingerie parlor. And I asked her, what do you want from this upcoming election? And she says, I really want more police busts. And the more we talked about it, she kind of opened up saying, in the past few years, there's been a boom of these illicit massage parlors. And she talked about how her business, that's like a legitimate consensual sex work business, couldn't compete with these prices of these illicit massage parlors, which she said are usually, sex trafficked women in them, and that the prices are really low because of this sex trafficking. And so basically anyone can go into these illicit massage parlors and for like anywhere from $40 to $100 basically have a woman masturbate them. And she says it's not right because these women are sex trafficked and her business just can't compete with it. And so she really wanted more police busts, which I thought was a really interesting topic and, also really important. And no one was talking about it. So I wanted to learn more kind of how that was happening and what was going on.
Yeah, I heard you actually got some backlash on social media once the article came out from people claiming that you're anti-sex work. So before we jump in, let's try to break down like why that's murky, because like, can you lay out the difference between something that this woman who works in these lingerie shops, which is, I think, very coded for, private shows in a sense,
Yes.
right? So the
Yeah.
difference between legal sex work that is licensed in the state, in the city, and what this woman was speaking about, which is possibly human trafficking. Like, it sounds silly that we have to explain it, but it feels like a lot of people don't understand
Yeah.
the
No,
difference.
absolutely. Yeah. So I wasn't familiar what a lingerie parlor was. I think, a lot of people are familiar with strip clubs and stripping, but so basically a lingerie parlor, you can come in and request a private show. And so there's all these private rooms and basically the women can put on shows, strip tease. The woman I talked to said you can do toy shows and the customer is allowed to take off their clothes and masturbate themselves. But there's no actual touching going on between the performer and the customer. And so that's legal. And compared to these illicit massage parlors, there is actual touching going on. And in terms of the backlash, I think a really big thing to think about is consent and the opportunity to leave any type of work that you're in. I talked to a woman who lived next to an illicit massage parlor, and she said, in the 3 years that it had been open, she'd never seen the women leave. Her nephew who lived with her said he saw a man bring in groceries into the shop, but that these women are living on the premise. And other experts I talked to say that often these women don't even know what state they're in. They're really confined by cultural and language barriers. And so there's really no opportunity to leave what they're doing.
Well, walk me through what you found out about these massage parlors. Like, who's operating them? Who are the people in it that are assumed to be sex trafficked?
Yeah. So from talking with a bunch of experts, a lot of these illicit massage parlors are related to organized Chinese crime. Women are coming over, being shipped to Flushing, New York and Southern California, and then kind of being shuttled across the country. And a big reason why it's so hard to regulate and also combat is the fact that they're usually, rings of businesses. And so one massage parlor is also connected to a nail salon and a restaurant. And so one person can be running all of these different businesses and kind of moving workers around. And so that's really hard to track.
Did you go inside any of them?
Yeah, I spent a lot of weekends going inside trying to talk to women. Once you recognize what they look like, you'll see them everywhere. It's kind of like ceiling to floor, big advertisements. You can't see inside any of the windows. A lot of neon flashing lights, massage parlors that are open really late at night that if you're driving by, you're like, oh.
Why is this open?
Yeah, exactly.
It's 11 p.m.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But so when you go inside, usually they're pretty dark. There's a little front desk area and then private rooms. I tried to talk to the women that were in there. A lot of them didn't speak English. One woman just, kind of Google translated, typed out she couldn't talk to me, that she had a customer coming in soon. Definitely usually a lot of security cameras in there. The one place I spent a lot of time at just kind of had a piece of paper taped to the wall with prices of $40 for an hour plus whatever for an extra 15 minutes. So definitely didn't look like a typical massage.
Not like a massage therapist. Yeah.
Exactly.
So when you went inside, was it dingy inside? What was the vibe? Does it look like a waiting room?
Yeah, I guess a waiting room. Those LED lights, I think a lot of college students, we tape them around the walls and they're turned red or purple. Usually there wasn't someone in the front room when I walked in. It's that, they see me on the camera in a room and they walk out to me. Sometimes smells like cigarette smoke, maybe a couch, but
cigarette smoke. That's not what you expect when you go into a massage,
Yeah.
Well, If it appears to be human trafficking, why isn't the FBI just kicking doors down? Why isn't, Portland police figuring something out with a state? Like, how is it still going on?
Yeah, I didn't have the opportunity to talk to anyone from the Bureau about what was happening, but, you know, from this Virginia nonprofit that's been tracking these businesses, there's been I think 54% increase in the number of businesses across the country. So I really do hope federally there is something going on. In terms of Portland police, I mean, I think a big thing to think about is that it's a really not hidden necessarily, but it's not a very loud crime. All these businesses, everything's behind closed doors, other than like flashing LED lights. They're not flashy places. It's not rowdy. And so I think local law enforcement usually are preoccupied by bigger, flashier types of crime, which is unfortunate because talking to people, experts about this, these are violent situations and it's just not really in your face. And so I'm not sure if it's really taking the priority it should.
All right, well, let's take a quick break here. And when we come back, other ways our city could be combating these human trafficking rings. The holidays are a time of coming together and sharing food. But unfortunately, some aging neighbors in our community are missing out on both. Just this year alone, Meals on Wheels people experienced an 8% increase in meals served to seniors, reflecting the growing challenges our aging population faces. And while 1 in 3 senior nutrition programs across the nation struggle with waitlists, Meals on Wheels people is proud to be one of the few that has never had a waiting list for senior meals. But the stats are telling. Nearly 60% of older adults they serve live alone. And as you can imagine, being alone this time of year can be especially hard. Which is why beyond providing nutritious meals, Meals on Wheels people also offer a critical point of social connection for homebound seniors who may be feeling isolated. You can support their incredible community of volunteers and staff, ensuring any senior who needs a meal receives one. Visit MOWP.org today to double your donation on this Giving Tuesday. That's MOWP.org. Every gift matters, every meal matters. Profile Theater, one of Portland's oldest professional theater companies, is thrilled to be back with their 2024-2025 season featuring award-winning playwright Lauren Yee. This season, you're able to connect deeply with Lauren's groundbreaking work over a series of productions. This includes Samsara, one of Lauren's earliest plays, a satirical confrontation with modern-day colonialism and what to expect when you're expecting someone else's child. The season closes out with the Playwright Festival, where audiences meet and hear new work from the next season's top-secret featured playwrights. Memberships to the 2024-2025 season are available now. Head to profiletheater.org/memberships to become a member today, or head to profiletheater.org, that's profile, THEATRE.org, to learn more about the incredible Lauren Yee season.
Hey, Andy McDaniel here. I'm Chief Creative Officer at CityCast. If you're like me, you're fatigued with the news right now. And yet here you are listening to today's show. I hope that is because CityCast is a bright spot in your media diet. We started CityCast out of the belief that local news can be not only informative, but useful, even delightful. We also believe that when people like you understand your city and your neighbors, it makes your city a better place to live. If CityCast does that for you, I hope you'll consider becoming a member. By listening to this show, you are already a part of what we're building. But when you become a CityCast member, you help ensure we stick around. Become a member of your local CityCast at membership.citycast.fm. That's membership.citycast.fm. And thanks.
Have you heard of any of the victims escaping or coming forward or anything like that?
I personally, not locally in Oregon, I think talking to people who have worked with victims, they say it's really hard for people to come forward because of, one, the language barriers and cultural barriers, also that people don't always know where they are. And so they don't know, if these women aren't, leaving the businesses that they work, it's really hard for them to get out and figure out where to even go or who to talk to. And I think that is a really big issue, is that there just aren't the resources for people to figure out how to get help, which is unfortunate.
So if, the FBI isn't coming and, knocking doors down, if the state and the city don't seem to care that this is happening, or I guess there's no evidence that they know what's happening or that they are hoping to stop it. The thing that I think about is like, well, a lot of massage parlors or the massage industry in Portland, it's very like holistic, and there are boards, like there are massage, therapist licenses and stuff. Using that angle, you would think that these massage parlors would be shut down because that they're also competition. Isn't there like some sort of board that keeps an eye on these kinds of things?
Yeah, so I talked a lot with the Oregon Board of Massage Therapists, and their compliance officer. He helped a lot. And it's a board of, I think it's 6 employees covering the entire state. And he's the only, Jeff Van Lannen is the only compliance officer they have. So it's really him trying to cover the entire state. But the board doesn't have criminal jurisdiction, so they can't actually enforce any laws. What they can do is go in and do an investigation, check to see if whoever is running the business is properly licensed, if the people working there are properly licensed, are following correct protocol. But they can't do anything other than that. So what they end up doing is sending their findings over to local law enforcement and kind of just hoping that police take it from there.
I heard that, reading your article, that there would be like one dude who had a license and they were just like, this is our license. But like the way the board works is that every massage therapist is supposed to be licensed.
Right. Yeah. So I spent a lot of time in this one illicit massage parlor. The owner of the place, he had a license, but he wasn't there. I never saw him. And his address was actually in Flushing, New York. And the women that I talked to, I asked to see her license, and she was like, oh, don't take any pictures. Please don't take any notes. And showed me, a picture on her phone of the license with this man's name. And I just recognized the name because I'd been looking up his records. And so basically, as I understand it, if it was just him running the business, he could be licensed and the building itself wouldn't have to be. But because there's other people working, they have to have a license and the business itself has to be licensed.
It's kind of interesting that Multnomah County doesn't care that there are businesses that aren't legal. Like, part of me wonders if nobody cares because these women aren't citizens, or they're not voting. They don't have any power in our system.
No,
and I wonder if
think
that could be like the reason why nobody cares,
Absolutely. I do think that is a big part of it. I also think there isn't a lot of scrutiny. So from looking into it, basically these businesses are licensed through the business licensure. So it's like you can look them up and they show up, but it's just they're not licensed through the Oregon Massage Board. But it's really easy to get a business license. There's not a lot of scrutiny with that. And so no one's really paying attention to who's licensing a business. And when I did talk to people, they did say like a way to kind of track these places is looking through the money, but that they're just such big organizations. Like I said, it's a ring. It's not this one business. And so it's really hard to kind of figure out how everything is connected. And they're making so much money that if there are any fines or penalties, they can just pay it as kind of part of the gig.
Interesting. I mean, there's always been these illicit, massage parlors across the United States. It's not like a brand new thing that like is coming from China. Like this has always been a thing that happens.
Yeah.
There are probably a lot of US workers that are working in some, even in our city, I'm imagining,
Yeah.
So did you find out if the city responded at all? Because like, here's a deal, no matter what, there is a number, like it's like a tripling of illegal parlors. There's no way that the city doesn't know.
Yeah.
So in the past 5 years, has Portland responded at all, being like, ooh, this is getting a little out of hand? And also when you throw in human trafficking, you would think an alarm would go off somewhere.
Yeah, I really tried to talk with Portland police. They declined to interview with me. But when through their emails, they kind of tried to shift the conversation to prostitution on like 82nd, that people on the streets walking, and they're talking about how, they've done a lot of work trying to tamp that down. And I think it really comes back to optics,
Mm-hmm. No one's complaining.
Yeah, exactly.
We need to start complaining if we want any of them to do anything about it.
Exactly. And this, a guy I talked to, he works at the network, which is the Virginia nonprofit that kind of tracks this stuff. He said, like, that's a big thing, is that no one knows about it. No one sees it. And so no one talks about it. And you don't really recognize there's a problem because there's no conversation around it. But that doesn't mean there isn't a problem.
Yeah. Like, the thing that we should all be concerned about is the human trafficking aspect of this.
Exactly.
Because like I said, these illicit massage parlors have always existed, will always exist.
Yeah.
But being sex trafficked, like, that's something that you would think our city would care about.
Absolutely. And I mean, like, I walked into these places and, these women are coming out in crop tops and high heels. And you're like, immediately, this is not what a massage therapist wears. I think it's concerning that I'm having to try to communicate with them through Google Translate. I think with any profession, like, communication, like I said, goes back to consent. And Jeff from the massage board says, often he finds these women living out of suitcases in these buildings, not being able to leave for years on end. And I think it's really angering that, because we can't see this out in the open, that people kind of look past it.
Were you able to speak to any of the customers? Because, I mean, these are like Portland metro area men. There's no way that they're walking in and they're like, this looks totally fine.
Yeah.
This is legal.
Yeah, no, I tried to. It definitely was a little intimidating as,
Of course,
5'4" woman.
I was just curious.
Yeah, no, it is interesting because, I spent a lot of time this summer, just like sitting in my car, kind of watching men go in and out.
Mm-hmm.
And they all look, so guilty. But it is interesting too. Like, these look like, I don't know, typical dads just like walking in and, I talked to the woman, who lives next door to one, and she's like, oh yeah, rush hour is 5 to 7 as men get off work and make the pit stop on the way home. It was really interesting just like to see this part. I don't know. You really don't think about it.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, are any other neighboring cities doing anything more than what we're doing?
Yeah. So it was really interesting as I was reporting this out that a lot of the smaller towns and communities around Portland are really taking this seriously.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the ways that different communities are tackling this is by amping up the scrutiny that comes with registering business in that community. And Jeff from this massage board has helped a lot with different towns to kind of figure out a way to create city ordinances that, when you want to register a massage business in that community, you have to complete these tasks, either file the paperwork in person so that if you're a man in New York and you have to do that paperwork in Scappoose, that makes it difficult.
That's that seems like a really good little loophole. Yeah,
exactly. Because it's like, if you're a legitimate business wanting to start a business in that town, you're there in person. And then also, I think some cities are doing background checks because it's really hard once they're established to kind of really do anything. But yeah, the city of Scappoose has passed an ordinance, and I think they passed it early last year. And there were busts in Lake Oswego earlier this year in Newburgh. And I know that Jeff is working with those cities to kind of create ordinances as well so that they can really get on top of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, since your story came out, has the city, to your knowledge, done anything different? Or, because the story came out in September.
Yeah. Not that I know of. It actually, it was from when I tried to talk to Mayor Ted Wheeler and the Portland police. They said, oh, we have investigations going on. Like, we're aware of it. But, they declined to interview with me. And they definitely didn't give a lot of details of like how they're really combating the situation. So I'm not too sure what is happening.
Yeah. Well, what do you hope to see?
I think having a city ordinance in Portland would be really great. Like, when I was looking at the numbers, almost half of the illicit massage parlors in Oregon are operating within Portland city limits.
Mm.
So it definitely is a hub for this business. I also think, starting the conversation, I think more people need to be aware of what's going on. And I think trying to figure out how to have resources available to these women, and even just the city scale, we can figure out a way to combat this and get these women the resources they need, and to understand that this isn't legal consensual sex work, and really make that a point that this is sex trafficking and it's going on, probably within like a mile from your house. There's so many. It's really crazy to, once you recognize it, just how pervasive it is.
Yeah. Well, I hope that this is reaching the right people, including people who frequent these joints, because you're part of the problem.
Yeah.
Well, Eliza, thank you so much for taking the time to investigate this, to look into it. I hope that the city wasn't just brushing you guys off, and that actually there is an investigation going on or something.
I agree. And I thank you for taking the time to, talk about this, because I really do think making this a conversation is really important.
Before we head out, just a quick reminder that today is the only day where you can get 2 free thank you gifts if you become a member. Go to membership.citycast.fm to support journalism that connects our city. If you're already a member, thank you. We could not do this work without you. Well, that's all for today here on CityCast Portland. Thanks so much for listening. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more from around the city. Until then, see you at Slim's.